Tonight, in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television, we take a look at the first woman at the helm of the Central African Republic's presidency. Catherine Samba-Panza was elected by the National Transitional Council. That was today. Also, Equatorial Guinea reopens border with Cameroon, but circulation would not be void of strict controls. And the president of the Cameroon Bar Council has said that the bar exams to be written this February 2014 would be free of corruption. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to join us in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television. We begin right away with the news from the Central African Republic. The Central African Republic now has a new interim president. Catherine Samba-Panza was voted by the National Transitional Council today. That is coming 1 week after the sudden resignation of Michelle Jotodia. She is one of the 8 candidates who went for the elections. And for Hansen Chanji, the following report takes a look at the first ever woman at the head of the CAR. His report.
Cheers broke out in the National Transitional Council, sitting as interim parliament, when Catherine Samba-Panza was announced the new interim president of the Central African Republic. She is a Christian and the first woman to head the war-torn nation. She beat her immediate rival, son of former President Desiré Kolingba, 75 against 53 votes in the second round of the elections that saw 129 out of 135 members of the National Transitional Council taking part. Catherine Samba-Panza, who studied law in France, became mayor of Bangui in 2013 before her new position. She has a daunting task ahead of her, with her first litmus test being rebuilt in the country, one of Africa's most fractured nations, torn apart by conflict that had been warned could slip into a genocide. Found favored by the members of the National Transitional Council, Ms. Catherine Samba-Panza will not only sit on a hot seat, but will have a hot potato to swallow, that of reuniting the people of the Central African Republic as well as the army. She will be expected to organize elections by February 2015, according to the terms of originally brokered peace plans that set up the governing National Transitional Council in March last year. Catherine Samba-Panza replaces former interim president Michelle Jotodia, who was forced to resign on January 10, 2014.
Thanks indeed for Hansen Chanji for that report. Meantime, residents around the border between Cameroon and the Central African Republic, thus precisely in the east region of the country, continue to live in perpetual fear and insecurity following violence orchestrated by members of the Seleka rebels. Gunshots are being heard in that part of Cameroon, with reports of how many have resorted to flee their homes for safety. While Cameroonian authorities have promised to maintain peace and security in the east region of Cameroon, the UN is due to dispatch some 500 troops to maintain order in the embattled country of the Central African Republic. And activities are still to get to its normal, that's in the border town of Amchidi in the Mayo Sava division of the far north region of Cameroon after a recent attack on Boko Haram by the Nigerian army. The attack left 6 persons seriously injured and a vehicle destroyed following a bomb blast. Lizette Ndimu has more.
Locals are gradually returning to their homes in Amchidi, Mayo Sava division, after they deserted the town last Wednesday, following violent confrontations between members of the Nigerian Islamist group Boko Haram and the Nigerian army. This resident explains that he was forced to evacuate his entire family as early as 4 a.m. that fateful day, following severe gunshots near the border. A bomb thrown from a Nigerian warplane landed on Cameroonian soil right in front of the customs office in Limani, destroying a vehicle. The chief of center at the Limani Health District said 6 victims were received at the hospital. Among them was a 65-year-old Nigerian woman shot near the abdomen and a 13-year-old girl who was immediately transferred to the Kolofata hospital. Situated some 110 kilometers from the town of Marua, Amshidi in the Mayosava division had been the center of economic activities in the last 20 years in the Far North region. But recently, the activities of the Nigerian Islamist sect Boko Haram have made the town very deadly and most dangerous of the northern regions, leaving locals victims of the war between Boko Haram and the Nigerian armed forces. However, authorities say the security of Cameroonians have been assured following the deployment in the area of a large troops of soldiers from the Rapid Intervention Battalion, the B.
Listen, Dimu, ending the report. Meantime, Cameroon has reopened its border with Equatorial Guinea after it remained sealed for over 2 weeks. It emerged from a security meeting that took place last weekend between the Minister of External Relations in Cameroon and its counterpart, thus in Equatorial Guinea. Both state officials equally resolved to create a trans-border mixed commission to check circulation of persons as well as goods in both countries. It was early this January 2014 that Equatorial Guinea closed its frontier with Cameroon after it denied or opposed to free circulation in CEMAC zones. Meantime, the president of the Cameroon Bar Council, that is Barrister Sama Francis, has said there would be no corruption and also no marginalization of Anglophone candidates ahead of the bar exams to take place this February 2014. Barrister Sama Francis told Yaoundé-based correspondent Roland Akon that conditions to be called, the various conditions that are being put in place to be called into the bar exams, and also that the exams are so tight. He explained why to Roland Akon.
Candidates to be called to the bar have barely a week to compile and submit their documents. The schedule is so tight, and at the Cameroon Bar, we sought to know why.
It may appear short, but the requirements are not complicated, like the normal papers, a certified copy of your ID card, or your birth certificate, of your degrees, and so that's not something that should call for any problem. And essentially, I know that the candidates have been waiting for these exams, and I've said it before, that as a matter of fact, it was supposed to have been scheduled before the end of the year. The truth is that the minister signed it on the 31st of December, but it had to take time to go through the process to be published.
The president of the bar explains what it takes to be called to the Cameroon Bar.
To be called to the bar, you have to sit for an exam called Bar Part 1. The main condition is that you have a degree in law. And this is written, and if you are successful, you do pupillage training under a principal, a master, for 2 years, and you now sit Bar Part 2. If you are successful, you can then be sworn in as a full-fledged advocate.
There are always fears of corruption and influence peddling when exams as such are launched in Cameroon.
The only condition to be admitted to the bar would be that the candidate scores as provided by law 12 on 20. Let no intermediaries and middlemen go around fooling our poor parents and candidates that for them to succeed, they have to give an envelope to the bar president, to whomever. I've assigned nobody to do that. And I'm not an angel, but I can swear that I will not tolerate any element of corruption or influence peddling. And all I ask the candidates and their parents and their sponsors is to train them, prepare them for the exam.
Anglophone candidates also complain of alleged marginalization.
The last bar exams were done 7 years ago. I was a member of the commission, I was a member of the Bar Council under Bar President Chungang, who put me in charge of the exams. I can state without fear of contradiction that that was one of the most exceptional exams, the rarest cases where in an exam where 500 and above lawyers were called to the bar, 275 of them were Anglophones. So how can we say that they're being marginalized? Not at least in relation to the bar. By saying so, I'm not saying that because I'm the current bar president, I'm going to give any added advantage to the Anglophones. Every Cameroonian candidate will have equal opportunity.
That's the president of the Bar Council there speaking to Yaoundé Bureau Chief Roland Akon. We stay with Barrister Sama Francis to talk about how far the Bar Council has gone with the creation of the Bar School that is in the University of Buea. He spoke to Roland Akon.
I have the privilege and honor to once more inform the Cameroon public that we are having a very high level of collaboration with the University of Buea. The administrative authorities of the University of Buea have already put in place all the logistics that if we had all the relevant authorizations and we put our points together, we may be able to start the law school by the next academic year. And equally, we did a few months ago, I'm sure we're here, 1 month ago, I signed a convention with the European Union and with the Barreau de Bordeaux to set up a Centre de Formation Professionnelle des Avocats in Yaoundé. It's the French version of what is a law school. It isn't quite a law school, but it's a center where jurists are prepared to sit for Bar Part 1 and Bar Part 2.
That's the president of the Cameroon Bar Council there speaking about the creation of a bar school in the University of Buea. The question is, when is the project going to go operational in the country? Here in the economic capital, Douala, some inhabitants around Mobile Guinness, that's a neighborhood in the Douala 5 municipality, have evacuated the area following the expansion of a gully. The gully is causing panic as some houses are already at the verge of collapsing. It should be noted that the residents are soliciting government's intervention, as Pamela Ndukong reports.
Avec la peur au ventre, parce que quand on dort, tu dors avec un œil.
We surely shall be coming back to the report of Pamela Ndukong in a subsequent newscast. Now we talk about ravaging flames that have consumed the Lone Pharmacy in Obang, that's in the Opanyong division of the East region of Cameroon. Firefighters who arrived several hours after the incident could not save a single property, which all went into the flames. The origin of the fire is not yet known, but security forces have opened investigations. Several shops around the pharmacy were equally affected. Material damage has been estimated at over 17 million francs CFA. Meantime, a rescue vehicle has been handed to the firefighting department in Betua, that's still in the east region of the country. The gesture by the Ministry of Defense comes after several persons lost their lives in a road accident because they were not quickly evacuated. The vehicle is thus to transport accident victims on the highway in that part of the east region of Cameroon. Now we talk politics before we take you to news out of Cameroon. The CPDM bigwigs in the party's most important session in the Vuri 1, that's here in the littoral region, have called for the reinforcement of coherence in the party. They were speaking at the weekend that was here in the economic capital Douala during the resumption of the political activities in the party after the September 30 polls that took place in the country. Speeches during the ceremony focused on reconciliation and peace following investiture problems that hit the party during the municipal elections. The meeting at the Aqua Conference Hall at the weekend also comes after the effective putting in place of a disciplinary committee by the party's national president, that is Mr. Pobia, to sanction indisciplined militants in the last elections. Now, in news out of Cameroon, Uganda's president has refused to sign a controversial bill that is penalizing homosexual acts into law. Addressing the country's parliament in a letter, he said that he believes that homosexuals are abnormal people who should be rescued and not jailed. Let's have more with Franz Verkat.
The Ugandan anti-gay law blocked. On Friday, Yoweri Museveni refused to approve a bill to toughen punishments for homosexuals. He explained his decision in a letter to Parliament published on the Daily Monitor's website.
Homosexuals are sick people, but that doesn't mean they should be imprisoned for life or executed. There are better ways to treat their sickness. I do not approve of homosexuality, but I believe that these people have a right to exist.
The bill was passed last month by Parliament. It calls for life imprisonment for homosexual acts and makes it a crime not to report gay people. The private member's bill originally proposed the death penalty for some offences, but the clause was later dropped.
Thank the Speaker of Parliament for the courage and providing leadership to defend the children of Uganda and a cause for humanity.
The controversial law sparked public outcry in the US and the EU. Last month, Germany even suspended its financial aid to the country in protest of the law. The president insists, however, he did not back down in the face of international condemnation. The bill is blocked for now, but homophobia is still widespread in Uganda. In 2011, David Kato, a prominent gay rights activist, was bludgeoned to death at his home after a newspaper released his personal information.
And that brings us to the end of this segment of the news. Up next is Talking Point. Good evening to you once again, viewers, and we'll welcome a guest right away. Good evening to you, Mr. Julius Asho. Thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you very much for inviting me.
We should be thanking you for joining us. Before we talk about the bar exams that's going to take place from the 22nd of February to the 23rd, let's first of all get your immediate reaction on the election of a new interim president in the Central African Republic, that's Catherine Samba-Panza. It should be noted that this is the first ever woman to lead the Central African Republic. What's your immediate reaction as far as that's concerned?
My immediate reaction is that this is a clear example that when men have failed, it's only a woman that can rescue the situation. This is a similar situation that happened in Liberia. And as up to date, since Ellen Shirley was made president of Liberia, the country is going on smoothly as if nothing happened. In Bangui, there's been a problem of leadership in the sense that everybody believed he could be a leader. But times have shown us that those fighting for power couldn't sit down to agree. And as they couldn't agree, they were forced by circumstances for things to be changed. You know, people in Bangui are very nice and quiet people, happy-going, easy-going. But you see, because of politics that came into their rooms without most of them understanding what was going on, there was a little bit of chaos. But the mere fact that a woman has been chosen to lead the nation into peacefulness, into a nationhood.
Just for the transitional
It is wonderful. I believe it is a wonderful idea.
So you think that is going to solve the problem of the Central African Republic once and for all, according to you?
I'm not going to foresee the future, but from the past experiences, like I said in Liberia, whenever a woman is there, things are always better. I believe in that.
And you believe in that. Of course, Barrister, we also invited you within the context of the bar exams that were launched, that's by the president of the Cameroon Bar Council last weekend. The exams are going to be written from the February 22nd to the 23rd. This examination is coming 7 years after the previous one that took place in 2007. The president of the Cameroon Bar Council said it himself. Can we say that the announcement is coming as a good news?
It is wonderful news because it's going to help the government in its drive to stop unemployment. And secondly, this clear example that the present Bar Council has been up to the task. Because you see, to organize elections, the Bar Council have to be on their feet with the minister every day to remind the minister that by come November, December, the minister is supposed to sign some sort of a decree, an arrêté, to organize exams. If the Bar Council sits on its toes, they sit on their seat and don't move it to make sure those things are organized, we always stay like that. That's why the Bar Council, before the present president, did nothing to organize exams. They couldn't, maybe it's a problem of they didn't want to do it, but they couldn't do it, they didn't do it. That's why the ministers start and we're looking at them. You know, we are lawyers. If we can fight for our own rights, who else can fight for us? So whenever we know that there's a right, that our right is that the Bar Council should organize elections by the end of every year. So the Bar Council is supposed to remind the minister that it is your duty to make sure that exam is organized, because without the minister's arrêté, nothing can happen.
So to you, it's a good thing. Now, what are the implications having taken 7 years to organize another bar exams, taking into account the so many thousands of students that graduate from state universities every year? Just for instance, the University of Buea, we count scores of them that graduate on yearly basis. The University of Yaoundé, we know the number of students that are in the faculty or the Department of Law every year, looking at the number of students that enroll themselves into the Department of Law, what are the implications for staying for a very long time before organizing a bar exam in Cameroon?
The only implication is that there will be many applicants. But we should understand one thing. Being a lawyer is entering a noble profession. It's not meant for everybody. In the sense that you should consider it a calling before going for it. You don't come in as an adventurer. Secondly, when it comes to the bar, many are called, but few are chosen. The last bar exams, there were more than 5,000 candidates. Only 500 were taken. So at the end of the day, it's not a matter of numbers, but it's a matter of the quality of the persons coming to the bar, because we have to get only the right persons to join the bar to defend the rights of Cameroonians, to make sure the law is respected in Cameroon, to make sure that the society feels that its norms established through the National Assembly is respected everywhere. So I say the number is not even the problem.
But don't you think it would be better for the elections, for the exams to be organized on yearly basis? Like
the surprising thing is that the law says at the end of each year, the minister is supposed to sign an order to organize the bar exams. But if the minister doesn't, it's like you cannot take a horse to the stream. You can take a horse to the stream, but you cannot force it to drink. Who in the bar can push a minister to sign the order when he doesn't want to? Okay, as lawyers, we always have ways of doing those things. And to succeed in doing those things, you need a master planner who's the leader of the Bar Council. The leader of the Bar Council has to be the person to urge or to goad the minister to do his job. And to do that, you have to use a lot of tact, intellect, and perseverance to do such a thing. And those are the qualities that we find in my present Bar Council president, who has succeeded in organizing exams. It's actually thanks to him.
Now, taking a look at the time to compile the documents, the exams were launched last weekend. It was announced last weekend that the bar examination has been launched. It will be written from the 22nd to the 23rd of February. Taking a look at the deadline here, don't you think it's more of it's going to play it's going to have a negative impact on the applicants? Is the time not limited?
Is don't cry somebody else's death ceremony. That's what else's death ceremony. In the sense that those who want to come into the profession, if you find something which is not good in the law, you ought to know what to do. You have to seize the authority who signed the order that, look, please, that time that you've given to us to compile these dossiers or these files is so short that we can't do it. There are so many ways of doing it. That's why you are coming to a noble profession. You should know the rules and regulations. You should know what to do. To me, as the president of the bar said, the documents are the same documents that everybody knows. But there are only two very important documents. That you're a Cameroon national and you have a law degree. The rest are birth certificates and those things. Everybody knows about that. So it is not that complicated as such. Those are things you can do in 1 day or two.
Of course, so it's not any complicated, like you said. So now, after the bar exams, what happens?
You know, they organize what we call the bar part 1. That gives you the opportunity to come in as a people advocate, and you're trained by a principal, who tells you, provides to you the rules of the game, and they make sure you go to court every day to find out what goes on. So you learn on the field. That's our system here. After 2 years of field work, let me put it that way, that's with the principal as a people advocate, you will now write the bar part 2. That now transforms you into full lawyer, whereby you have a right to open your own office and practice on your own.
So those are some of the stages.
Those are the stages you have to go through.
That are going to be retained.
Obligatory, actually.
Now, the president equally talked about corruption. It has so far been characterizing previous bar examinations that were taking place in Cameroon. An indication that it might possibly equally take place this year. What could the Bar Council do to ensure that it's free from corruption?
During the last exams, I was a member of the Bar Council. I was with the treasurer. I can bet you it's not possible for there to be corruption during the marking of the exams, because the exams are marked by lawyers, judges, and university lecturers. Whom are you going to corrupt among those persons? You have to be somebody of solid substance to go and come and see a magistrate or a lawyer to give him money because of an exam, a back exam. As I say, it is a noble, it's a provision meant for nobility, in the sense that only the best are chosen from those who come into it. If you are not up to the task, I'm sure you will not get into it.
So you are assuring us that you will be free from corruption? The
bar president has said it, knowing Barrister Stammer very well, who was a very strict and upright gentleman. You will find no iota of corruption in these exams.
Now, the creation of bar schools in the University of Buea and other state universities like the Bâtonnier just announced, how important, what are the significance of bar schools being created around the country?
Oh, it was a wonderful idea that was started when I was a member of the Bar Council 7 years ago. We have done a lot of underground work with the universities, both Buea and SWA. But you know, in the Bar Council, the members have a lifespan of 2 years, and they can be re-elected. So when we left the scene, the new team that took over actually dumped this project. But I'm very glad to hear that the new team, which is
coming up,
has decided to bring it up, because can you imagine for students to go to Nigeria to law school, they pay close to $5,000 to train as lawyers. Meanwhile, we have the facilities in Cameroon to do just that.
And do you think it's going to go operational anytime soon in the country?
You know, everything in this country depends on the state. If the government has the will and wants to go, it's going to be a possibility, because the groundwork has already been done.
Thank you so much, Barrister Julius Ash, for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
You're welcome. Welcome.
Thank you so much, viewers, as well, for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television. Good evening once again, and have a wonderful stay in the company of our programs.